Hi, hello, vanakkam, and welcome back to yet another episode on Literals Law YouTube channel. So, after a long time, we are coming back to our Neoload video. So, what I'm going to see today is we are going to see the load variation policy. So we have four different load variation policies. We have the constant load variation policy, we have the ramp up, we have the peaks and the custom. So today in this video, we will see about the constant load variation policy. What are the options we have with the constant load variation policy and what are all the other options around this constant load variation policy. So before we move on to this video, this is me, Vasan Shanmugam. I welcome you all to Little Solar YouTube channel. In case if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do feel free to subscribe to our channel, like, share the video with your friends, and comment your questions and feedback in the comment section. So first, to run this constant load variation policy, we need to have a script. So for that, I have a script here. So this is a basic, a simple API script. So I created a script, and then the next thing is we need to have a population. So for that I have created a population. So this is a 100%. I just have the same script, the one single script. So I've created it to 100%, and for a change, instead of handle the cache as recorded, I'm just going to change it to be a new user. So this is just a quick change which I'm going to do now here, and then under the browser I'm going to use the for example, I can use the Chrome 32 or I can even use the Chrome 78 just for a change. And under the WAN emulation, I'm going to use the, so for example, if this is going to be a mobile application, so I'm going to use the 5G emulation. So just for a change, because we do not want to have the same set or default set of changes that we have, a default set of parameters for our test. So I have changed all these, and then we don't have anything in monitors and connections related to the uh, constant load variation policy. So now we'll go to the runtime. So here we should have a scenario. So in case if you do not if you don't remember how to create a scenario, so let me create a scenario for you. So click on this plus symbol, and here I'm going to add the scenario as constant load of 10. Then I'm clicking on OK. So here you have the constant load of 10. So here's the scenario, and if you double click it, we can see the various options of starting the test. So here I'm going to add a 60-second of monitoring before I start the virtual user test, and then again same for after the stopping. So I'm going to add another 60 seconds, and then here for the logging level when the scenario started in debug mode. So since we do not have any debug mode here, I'm not going to use this, and I'm clicking on OK. So now, so the same thing. So if we double click here on the scenario, this scenario settings will open, or in case if we click on advanced, again the scenario settings will be opened here. So that's a thing that we can use here. So this is the starting of debugging. So in case if we want to do a debugging of the script, we can try this. But now in this video, we are just going to see about the load test. So now here, so once we set up the scenario here, we will need the populations. So under this constant load, so we can have populations. We have the population. So this population is already designed in here. So if in case if we want to add any populations, we can add here. So we have just one population and we have added here. So now under the, so we have set up the scenarios now, and then we have set up the populations, and then we have the duration policy. So here we have the first option, which is the no limit stop manually. So when we choose this, so here as the name tells us that there is no limit, there is no limit for the duration, and the test can be stopped manually. So for example, so here I'm just using this scenario. So here since we have set as no limit and we have to stop it manually. So here you can see there is no time limit for this test, and I'm using this 10 users. And if I click on this play button here, so this will take me to the page, and then so here this is a no time limit test with constant load variation policy. So now I'm going to click on play. So what happens is this again, as it is mentioned here, so this will not stop because there is no duration set up for this test, and it will keep on running and running with the maximum user load that we have set up. So what happens? So why do we need to use this constant load variation policy? So basically this constant load variation policy in Neoload allows us to simulate a constant load on our application while introducing variations in the number of virtual users over a defined duration. In fact, this constant load variation policy mimics real world scenarios where the user load is not perfectly consistent but fluctuates to some extent. So, when using this constant load variation policy in your load, we can specify the baseline load level, and that is represented as the average number of virtual users. So, here you can see we have set up the baseline load, and this is the average number of virtual users that we want to maintain throughout the test. And Neoload introduces variation around this baseline by randomly increasing or decreasing the number of virtual users within a specified range. So now if you go back to the runtime overview, so here you can see the test. So we did have a pre-monitoring time here, and then after that the test has reached to 10 maximum user load. So for example, in case if we are running a baseline load, so the baseline load here represents the target average number of virtual users that we want to maintain during the test, and this is the load level around which Neoload introduces variation. So now said there is another scenario we have. So for example, in case if we want to add a users, so we can go to this runtime user, and for example, so the 10 is the maximum number of users of license I have. So what I can do is I can go and click on this top virtual users, and if I choose one as the user load, and then if I click on OK, and here you can see automatically a user is stopping. So here you can see we have 9 users in the system, so the 8th user is not in the system, and so we can even add one user to the system. So this is how the constant load variation policy works. So now we have 10 users again back into the system. So this is how, so here you can see we have got 10, and then we have stopped one user, and then again it's back to 10 users, and this test will not stop until we stop it manually. So let me go back to the top and click on the stop button, and that will stop the test for me. So the next thing here we have is, so let me just watch the test. So yeah, the test has been stopped. So let me again go back to the scenario. So here we can see the next iteration, which is the by iteration. So here, since we have given the iteration, so automatically after these many number of iterations, that is one, or even you can set it up to 100, or even you can set it up to 1,000, but the thing is this is limited to the number of iterations. So for example, if one iteration takes around 10 seconds, then for 10 iterations it will take up to 100 seconds, which is 1 minute 40 seconds. So this can be even used in case if we need to have, or if we need to set up some throughput. Say for example, if I want to achieve 6,000 hits, then I can use 100 users, and let me go back to the runtime, and I can run 100 users, and I can simulate it with 60 iterations. So 60 iterations means once iteration per minute. So in that scenario, so after 1 hour we will achieve 6,000 hits for each transaction. So that's how this particular iteration, so because you do have the constant load, because this load anyways is not going to increase or decrease unless we are going to make a change in it, and then again in the iterations number, since we have already set it up, so there will be no change. So for example, so here, see here, if I can do this for you now. So I have 10 simulated users, and then I have 60 iterations in number. So let me go back to the advanced, and let me remove this for that, so that I can complete the test as soon as possible. So here you can see I have set up the simulated users and then the iteration number. So let's see how does it work and what kind of number or how many numbers can we achieve it. So let me start the test and then we will go back to this scenario and see how does this work. So I have started the test. So as I told you earlier that in case if we have or if we know the number of users or if we have the number of users in hand and if we have the number of iterations, and in fact if we want to achieve a particular user load, then we can run this scenario. So see here we have the test has been completed already. So if I go to transactions, so here you can see I have achieved 600 transactions. The same is the case with, again, see, even if I want to achieve 6,000 hits, it's even possible for me in a fraction of a second. If I could just start the test and then if I wait for a few seconds, so since I do not have added any think times, so automatically the test has been started, the iteration has started to execute, and we can see the runtime graphs here. So the 10 users has already started here, and then in case if you want to see the transactions here, so if you drag and drop here, automatically you can see the, so here you can see the overall throughput of the system. And then if we come back to the runtime overview, so here you can see, so here is the response times and the number of requests that is being sent. And here we can see, I can just maximize it for you. So here you can see the number of requests that is being sent for every second. And in fact, we can add all the transactions that whatever we need. So for example, if I go back here, so I can see how many, so even you can see here how many iterations we have achieved. So far we have achieved 3,900, so 4,000 hits in just 1 minute. So this is the power of using this constant load, because this constant load is not going to change until we complete the test unless we do make changes, and we can achieve only that many number of users, because anyways we have set it up, we have set up the user load, we have set up the number of iterations, so we are going to achieve only that many number of iterations. And you can see here we have achieved 5993 5999, and yes, so after that, so finally at around 6,000 hits, automatically the test is over. So that's how we can use this constant load variation policy to achieve the expected number of hits. So this is in fact very useful in case if you have a requirement where you have the users, you have the number of iterations, and if you do have the number of hits you want to achieve, we can definitely very well use this. And next comes the buy time. So here we have three options. We have the, it starts in hours, it has minutes, and even it has in seconds. So for any number of duration, for any amount of duration, we can run that. As for now, for example, I'm just going to start the test with 5 minutes test. So the test load again is going to be 10, and here we do not have any iteration setup. So it's, again, this is not by iteration. So first we saw no limit, and second we saw the second option, the second load duration policy option is the by iteration, and then the third one, which is now we are going to test with 5 minutes. So the test is going to run for just 5 minutes with the maximum of 10 users. So let me save this and let me start this testing here, and let me uncheck this button to avoid this running. So if I click on play, so automatically you can see here the load is again going to be the same, which is going to be 10 users right from the beginning till the end of the test. But the number of hits that we wanted to achieve can be different. So it can be anywhere based on the number of users. And since you can already see here, so we have got 1,600. So it's like for every second we are getting some 500 to 600 hits, because we have 10 users and we do not have anything time. So the application is getting a lot of hits every now and then. And you can see here, like, this green color thing is the request, and you can see for every second we are getting an average range of 75 hits with this 10 users. They were like keep on pushing up or keep on sending requests to the system. So this is how the load variation policy, especially the constant load variation policy, works. So I believe this video would have been very useful to you. So tomorrow we will see about how this ramp up duration, the ramp up load variation policy works. So until I meet you in our next video, it's bye bye from Vasan Shanmugam and Little's Law. Please don't forget to subscribe to our Little's Law YouTube channel. Thank you.